kind of issues has to be sorted. So these are the issues, for example, in interior and tribal areas. To deliver a lecture and reaching to the students in the interior areas is one of the questionable thing we have to overcome, because the real needy people are there. So reaching the lessons to them is the more important aspect we have to achieve. So we have to address that issue. Then only real meaningful achievement of this online classroom technology will happen.
Nice.
Similarly, one more aspect we have to see is that most of the faculty members, so they are recruited before 15 to 20 years back.
Shazil, we can start.
Right. Hello and welcome everybody. I would like to welcome you all to the 8th edition of Technology Adaption in Education during COVID times. This time it is an industry perspective. I would like to call Dr. Rupa Vasudevan ji to present her opening remarks, and then we will hear from our expert speakers. Thank you.
Namaste. Here we bring our part 8 edition of the technology adoption and education. It's been a wonderful journey between part 1 to part 7 on technology adoption. Well, we are speaking here about the industry perspective today. We've had policymakers come in and give their perspectives. We've had academicians speaking about their challenges, and we've had a lot of ideating sessions on what exactly is in store for us for the next few years. It's tough to comprehend anything right now because as an institution, as an education myself, we are finding and developing ways and means, and to stay positive, to have to maintain self-discipline in the class, to understand the hybrid training methodologies. Well, 2007 was the first year that we had flipped class concept. And I think more than 10 years now, especially in the private sector, have been toying with the idea of digital pedagogies, digital training concepts, and Google Classroom, foolproof assessments, proctoring, etc. Universities such as ours, like the Bharat Engineering University, from the first year of introduction had the LMS solutions in place. So it's not an alien concept, but it is just how quickly it transitioned because of COVID-19. The quick transition that we saw in the past 18 months, which threw us all in this ground of completely evolving into these online pedagogies, digital pedagogies, understanding and application of the science of digital pedagogies is something that we need to do. We have been, just before this, there was an FDP, Faculty Development Program by the KKSU University Roundtable, and in which 240 faculty from across the globe they participated. And this was done with the help of IQNet from the UGC in India. And I was called as the second speaker because it is 1 week of FDP. Today I was the speaker. 11:30 to 11:45 I was speaking here to the faculties, and the challenges that they are facing are massive. Now, whether you speak of digital literacy, whether we speak about digital infrastructure, or we speak about the pedagogy, it's all the same. We are all having challenges in front of us. We all know about it. We've all seen MOOCs, we've all seen edX, we've all seen Coursera. We've also experienced doing courses online. But the whole pedagogy system completely into online for the institutions that are there in India is becoming a little difficult right now. We have 60 million students out there. They are all in the crucial months of February to August sitting at home. And they still need to do their competitive exams. They still need to start their new fresh year, while the HRD and the Ministry of Education in India is coming up with a lot of schemes with even chatbots and classroom options for free from Microsoft for our students and for our faculties. It is still remains a huge challenge in the remote areas of India. We also have satellite intervention. We have programs, and we have e-library with 50 lakh books available for the students. But still, having the same concepts and doing a digital pedagogy is becoming difficult. What we need today is a change in mindset. I would see it as a silver lining because we are learning a lot of new things in technology. We are learning how to engage our students better. It's all about user engagement here. It's all about how a student is motivated to come online, learn from you. That's a huge challenge. And I think what needs to be changed right now in a lot of institutions is the mindset. And we need to engage the students with smart ways of simulation and with multidisciplinary approach. Now is the time the industry should be most happy, because what we spoke about in terms of skill sets and multidisciplinary approach is becoming true, because it's very tough to engage students in the same 50-minute class. We have to ensure that the 15-minute class is broken down into 15 minutes of video, audio, or visuals, 15 minutes of skill development, 15 minutes of entrepreneurship, and 15 minutes of class. So it's a great thing that is happening now. This multidisciplinary approach with music, with yoga, with value education, with entrepreneurship skills, with skill sets to become employment ready is really becoming true because of the bite-sized lecture times. It's becoming tougher for the faculties because a lecture of 50 minutes, to make it a bite-sized class of 15 minutes, to engage the student in these 15 minutes and still achieve the learning outcomes is tough. But nevertheless, I think we're doing a fairly good job. We are all moving in with, with the mindset of change, and we are all moving in with a positive attitude. And today, our experts, we have President of IETO here, who's a long-time friend, a very dynamic personality, Dr. Asif Iqbal here. I'm sure he'll bring in a perspective, global perspective into the whole thing. We have John Ray and from Indonesia. We have Sai Kiran, who's an entrepreneur himself and a social activist. We have Mr. Sushil Chaudhary, who's an entrepreneur as well. We have two very special guests also who are completely from the organic and agricultural background. Interest me, Sudhadev and Manish Kumarji, because we cater to the students of rural India. We cater to the subject of agriculture, horticulture, and forestry. And we really would like to know their perspective on how the agriculture sector will move forward in India, with 50% of our people contributing to the GDP through the agricultural sector. So let's hope, let's start up with a great session today. And I will leave it to our speakers and our moderator now. Also quickly summing up the fact that we have built under our World Forum for Education, where also I'm a global chair. we have built a social network of knowledge givers. The World Forum for Education is a intellectual arm of Bharati Engineering, Science and Technology University. It is tied up, it is collaborated with a lot of organizations from across the globe, including the WWLC, of which Dr. Ayla is here. She is the chairperson of WWLC. And what we aim to do here is create a knowledge ecosystem of knowledge givers who impart their skills and knowledge to people to make a meaningful change for the community or society. And we are making a gated community of such knowledge givers on our social network platform. I would recommend all of you who are present here today in this session to please explore the website of worldforumforeducation.org. Be a part of this social network, be a member of the social network, and let us contribute to the knowledge ecosystem. Thank you very much, and over to the moderator now. Shazil?
Thank you very much, Dr. Rupa Vasudevan ji, for giving us insight, and that truly sets the tone for this event. And it talks about the true effort of what we are trying to do through this webinar. We have a lot of expert speakers. I just want to mention that through these webinar series, this is the 8th one in progress. We have reached out to more than 30,000 people who have watched our programs on YouTube or Facebook, and also, many important people who have been directly allowed. I'm sorry, there's a problem with microphone. So many important people who have been directly allowed to join this meeting rooms, and we have some expert speakers. We had hosted Dr. Kasturi Ranganji, who had addressed the conference, who was the ex-chairman of ISRO, and across the world we had important speakers. And I would like to set the tone for today's evening. Every speaker will be given 10 minutes, to present the view. And at the end of 9th minute, I would just intervene and say that you have another minute. So that is how the protocol will be. Apart from the speakers, I request everyone else to put your microphones on mute and switch off your cameras. Thank you very much. On that note, I would like to invite, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker for the day. That is Dr. Asif Iqbal. He's the president of Indian Economic Trade Organization. He was an architect by profession and travels with various customized delegations to bridge academic gap between industry and academia. He has also served as honorary counsel for Republic of Suriname, a country in Latin America, and has very close relationship with India. He commenced as Director General of Asian Arab Chamber of Commerce as well. And so we are looking forward to hearing from you. All over to you, Dr. Asif Iqbal.
Thank you very much. Thank you, the Best University, the Chairman, Mr. Bharat Meena ji, and Madam Rupa ji. Thank you. And it has been indeed a very enthralling learning experience for all of us during the COVID-19 period, where we are trying to create paradigm shifts in the education system, in the country's education system itself. And there couldn't be a better time than this for us to get more creative and to invent and reinvent new ways of teaching and learning. So here what we see and understand is more than anything, the services that are being delivered, online services that are being delivered to whatever extent of coping with this COVID-19 is to ensure that services are delivered. It has become more student-centric than teacher-centric now. We are focusing towards technology, towards students, than the teacher-student relationship. So that is going to change the complete paradigm, the shift and the transition that we are looking at. Now, what is missing is the face-to-face and the personal communication, which will get restored as and when things are back to normal. We never know what the new normal is going to be, but we are hoping that they get restored. But students have had to make far bigger adjustments in the learning process compared to what conventionally it has been in their classrooms, for which they can't go now. So there is a lot of this new world order for them. Besides, many of them, they are not well equipped with technology tools, especially with the Best University and with the agricultural, the courses that you have, and the institution being in a rural setup. It is much more important to equip them with some technology tools and maybe some simplified ways of learning that can help people, because there is low bandwidth. There is many times there are power connection issues. Not everybody cannot afford a smartphone. So there are these issues for which we are trying to work out. I was in an OECD session last week, and we were trying to understand in what way the Digital India vision of the government can emerge as a vital instrument for solving the education issue, especially in the rural areas. So I would now like to little more focus on that side of education more than anything. So I would be sharing a small slide here. Yes. Yeah. Can we see the slide?
Yes, Dr.
Yeah, so we are seeing this slide now. If you look at the slide, what we see on this slide is about the new ways and new methods, the alternatives, especially for low bandwidth teaching that can save especially the rural students. If you look at it, the high bandwidth technology, they of course work great for students, but let us look at the practical side of India and the challenges we face. So high bandwidth technology work great for students who have new computers, advanced systems, phones, and all the works that they can do. Now, for other students, courses that require fluent of high bandwidth technologies can limit their ability to fully participate. So therefore, this can also jeopardize and that could be a hurdle to their success in the future, creating a sense of shame and anxiety and all those things which can affect their social behavior. Now, second factor would be refers how quickly we can expect our students to respond when interacting with them and with each other. So the response time, the stimulus time is very important. So on online medium, when you send something, the response has to be as quick as possible, for which we are trying to create things like very simplified ways of learning. So typically we are made to think that immediate stimulus and immediacy is a good thing. So that is good in the face-to-face learning. It is kind of baked in the belief that in the face-to-face learning we are made to believe. But it doesn't feel like a limited resource. So one of the biggest advantages of this learning is it can provide you and the students with more flexibility. When we require our students to be online at exactly the same time, we sacrifice a lot of things, like benefits of online learning and how it cannot become a burden. Now, shifting our thinking to this, if you look at it, I'm having these 4 areas, which is yellow, red, green, and blue. Now, we'll first go to the green zone. If you look at the green zone, we have the discussion boards. It's a very simplified way of doing where students have low bandwidth. And if teachers can work out modalities for students in that particular process, more rural students could be helped. You see the discussion boards with text and images, email, reading with text images. So these are all these underappreciated ones, but then this is something very practical. Now, on the lower left, if you see, you have readings with text and images, only the readings with text and images. These type of assignments may not be very exciting. They don't look exciting, but sharing the readings with students in a consistent and organized manner will provide the online course with a very practical, solid foundation. So more than anything, the foundation is needed for students at this time, especially the rural students who have low bandwidths. Now, this can make a very, very strong foundation, and email and the discussion boards also belong under this cadre, where emails can be sent, where it could be a one-sided data, where students can make to think and then respond. You send them an email after an assignment so they understand and then reply back. So that builds a good foundation for them. Now, these online instructors who have been using these tools, like let's say file sharing for readings, and then emails and discussion boards. Discussion boards for decades, it can sound boring, but this is very important for us to develop critical thinking among students, and we can create some very good instructional experience with these 3 tools. So this is what is the green zone now going to be. Now let's come to the blue zone. You have the collaborative documents and the group chat and messaging. Again, here, there is a lot of practical, knowledge that is available, because moving over to the lower right, you have low bandwidth that can, add immediacy to the student interaction. The low bandwidth is very important in rural areas. Now you'll see that, some of the features and these kind of tools, they actually allow multiple people to edit and comment at the same document, spreadsheet at the same time. So it is important the student to exchange information with each other with the data that they are trying to get. So now, depending on how we structure the assignments, how students should collaborate over a very long period of time, or they could go online at exactly the same time, and they should be able to read and edit each other's work. So students have to also communicate along with their teachers. So I think somebody says that it's looking blurred. Let me, is it blur or is it clear?
Probably put it on, this is the slide, you can make it bigger, the slide show. Where is the slide show?
Let me just do that. Yes.
This is on your editable panel. You just have to slide.
Master grid view. Okay. Yes.
Where is that icon? No,
Now is it larger?
It is larger, but there is an icon generally in PPT.
Yeah, because I'm using the slides, I'm just trying to see where it is. I'm not using PPT, I'm using Google Slides.
Okay, Dr. Asif ji, if you can go to you.
Better. This is good.
This is good? Okay.
Yes.
Now you have an option called present on the top right next to share.
Yes. Got it. Presenter view. Got it. Okay.
Yes, perfect. Now it's good.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So now, yeah. So in this one, if you see, what we are doing here is trying to understand the various aspects of learning. If you see how we can learn from this side, from the video conferences that you have, and from collaborative documents that you see on the blue, this is the next level where students can collaborate with each other and learn with each other. So this will be another way. And after this, where we would be going is to see and understand in what way the green one would happen now. Yes. Okay. The red one that you see is video conferences and audio conferences. Now, video conferences and audio conferences are something where, in general, right, what we are doing today, students, today we are giving them an experience and we are today working with them only on the fact that we are able to talk about it and they are listening. So it's one way. So we don't even know whether they are interactive in nature or not. So it's important for us to see that they also become interactive and they get to engage themselves in the whole process. So this is another way. And the final way that we are seeing here is the asynchronous discussion, pre-recorded video, pre-recorded audio, and this other one which requires high bandwidth. So now high bandwidth is something which is limited to few students. However, what is needed today is that we engage the students and we ensure that balance this whole digital experience for them with as much as possible, screen-free activity. And to keep a pulse on students' emotional health is very important to build a strong foundation for them to understand the larger process. Of course, we will understand, and from agriculture point of view, we are also working on a lot of agricultural mechanisms now. We are developing something on an agri park and the Bangalore International Airport, the vicinity of the airport now, where we are getting an Israeli firm to build up hydroponic farms, and they would be set up in the airport vicinity. This is a new development that has happened in the last 2 weeks, and we are going to be commencing that operation very soon. And from the government's point of view, we have been talking about virtual classrooms and various online tools today. Government has got a lot of these initiatives now, like Swayam online courses are there for teachers. The UG PG MOOCs for the non-tech courses are there. Then you have the EPG Pathshala. Then UGC YouTube channel itself is there. Vidwan is there. NEET is there. There are so many of those. And National Digital Library is there. So the free and open source software for education is something very important which students can explore to build their own technology. And this is also there where we are going to be supporting. And of course, BEST, we have been committed to support this institution in whatever new technologies and methodologies that we can bring in from different parts of the world. And efforts are on how we can collaborate and cooperate. So I want to thank, I think I'm running my time. So I would like to thank very much, and I'll be happy to share any kind of doubts or clarifications that we might have on this presentation that I've made. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asif Iqbalji, for addressing the conference. I think you, in a very nice way, you explained what is the need of the hour based on different geographical areas and the kind of connectivity which we have, such as low latency, low bandwidth areas. You specifically address the use of email effectively and also discussion boards. As you said, it is boring, but always good for collaboration, right? So also, I just want to highlight that Best Innovation University is based out of Anantapur in Andhra Pradesh, happens to be a Tier 2 city. However, we are one of the institutions which has not missed even a single class since the day lockdown was announced. We always try to be technically one of the most advanced institutions, and there are a lot of other institutions who are reaching out to us across the world, trying to adapt the kind of technology which we are using. And also, we very successfully conducted examinations online with with foolproof and online invigilation. So these are the technologies which Best IU has been bringing in, and also for the low latency and for the low bandwidth areas, we have our technology partner MFace. We have developed a proprietary satellite-based content delivery mechanism, which I think can be leveraged in these areas. However, I think, sir, your points, what you presented, are very valuable. I think a lot of academics who are watching this would take a note on it and would definitely implement that. Thank you very much, Dr. Asif Iqbalji, again. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon the next speaker, that is Mr. Sushil Chaudhary. Mr. Sushil Chaudhary is the CEO of Picture Time Digiplex Private Limited, which helps in setting up affordable quality cinema theaters across the world. He has also served as a managing director of Man India Technology and alumni of National Institute of Technology. I would like to ask Dr. Sushil Kumarji to address, Dr. Sushil Chaudhary ji to address the conference. Sushil ji, you need to unmute yourself. Okay. Sushil ji, I see you are in the conference, so we need to unmute in order to speak. I think there's some technical difficulty at Mr. Sushil Chaudhary's end. We would love to hear from you, sir, but we would also like to now move on to our next speaker, and we'll come back to Sushil Chaudhary once the technical issues. We have Sushil Chaudhary here. All over to you, sir.
Call out again.
Mr. Sushil Chaudhary ji, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, Sushil ji, you may please start. We called you out. If you can switch on your camera and start, please. Sushil ji, can you hear us? Shazil will come back now. I think there's some technical.
I think there is some technical point. Though he is in the conference, I think he is unable to speak.
I see him.
Right. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think Dr. Sushil ji, Mr. Sushil Chaudhary ji is over here. But can you?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Sushil ji, you can continue. Sushil ji, you may start. We are able to hear you, and we can see you as well. I think there is some technical issue at his end. Maybe the microphone may not be working. So we will connect. Hello.
Okay, move on, Shazil.
Right. So we will connect with Sushil Chaudhary ji. We'll come back to him. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon our next speaker for the day. That is Miss Sudha Dev, the Senior Director of Vanguard, Santa Clara, USA. She has worked as Senior Director, Head of Integrated Operations with IBM Malaysia. She is also among the Board of Directors of Herb and Solace, Organic Farm to Empower Women. She has received major achievement and awards for outstanding performance in sales and delivery, and also has been a pioneer and an inspiration in organic farming space. I would request Ms. Sudha Dev ji to address the conference.
Thank you very much, Best University, and Rupa ji, as well as Sir yourself. This is a fantastic time for us to be able to explore the online education and the digital education. Even though it's been around for a very long time, the embracement of such technologies has been limited to schools and at the same time into institutions which have embraced the technology, digital technology much earlier. But what we've seen in the last, I would say in the last 6 years, the utilization of YouTube and providing different types of education platforms for just about normal people to share their knowledge, to share their expertise online has become a wave. Not just in terms of just the education, it has also become an area where people are able to even earn an income out of presenting their knowledge and expertise online. So today, when you take it as digital education, it is more or less evolving as a norm for most people who have understood and are working just about a very simple smartphone. Today, if you take India and the rest of the world, the number of people today utilize their online in terms of using a smartphone is very high. Countries like India, Indonesia, which have very high population, we see a very increased number of people coming online with smartphones. And that helps us to understand that people are willing to learn technology which they've never used before. And that goes across the board in different age groups as well. And these technologies today are becoming more simpler, more easier to understand, and that benefits a lot of people to leverage the online education through different forms and to be able to create a career and also to get their degrees, etc., leveraging these technologies that are currently being available and that are being offered through universities and also in different application providers. Today, there are pros and cons to what we see in digital education. Just like the previous speaker, I completely agree that we need to find technologies which are using technology that is lower in terms of bandwidth usage, technologies that help come forward with the way that across, India, or wherever we're using it, that people are able to leverage that in a much better way. As Rupa ji mentioned earlier, today, leveraging TV, there's nobody who doesn't have TV. What I see, which is a little bit different since I've been in India now due to COVID-19, and people who are using this technology to deliver classes, it needs to be a little bit more structured. Structure, if there is no structure, then these classes will not be a success. The reason is, today it's the teachers who need to be educated in these technologies. They need to be educated in time management. They need to be educated in terms of how to leverage these technologies for the best possible forward. And with that, it's the students. Just like a classroom, taking attendance and making sure the attendance is being tracked for attending these classes, and having most of these applications today make it available to have breakout sessions, creating material that are collaborative in nature, having 2 and 3 kids working together on small little projects that might be assigned, brings these students together. Along with that, it is very important to have follow-through sessions, having quizzes, having things which are dynamic in nature, where the students do take them online along right after the class or before the class, whatever it is, and they're being graded for that. Bringing in the structure will help the students as well as the teachers become successful, and at the same time, they are being tracked and they are being graded just like a classroom. These things are very, very important. What I also see is, unless these academicians are educated in some of these things, it is very difficult for people to become successful. And so the investment that needs to be done by universities or by the service providers is the training of such applications and their material. So that way that can be leveraged to the optimal. And so that way it becomes a win-win across the board for educational institutions, for the application providers, students, and teachers. Now, education today, digital education, is the norm. Given a pandemic situation as where we are facing today, it is very important for us to understand we have no idea how long this is going to be and where this is going to take us and where we're going. The only way forward is digital education. And there's nothing better than that, because self-sheltering is important. There's no way to bring these people together, but we got to find ways to make it happen and do the best for the students as well as for the people, academicians who are delivering the material. We, as a technology platform, coming from a technology background, I can only tell you, we have been doing this for a very long time, especially when work moved out of the US and into India. I myself have brought a lot of work into India, and we've made sure that there's not a single candidate who will travel specifically because of a project into the US or a US person coming into India. We've leveraged every single technology that there is to be able to do knowledge transfer, and this has been going on since the late 90s. So I don't see us going backwards, but only looking us going forward, where this will become a norm. This is becoming a norm, and this will become the norm. The only con to this is the unfortunate touch and feel of meeting people, having that little discussion, having that little friendship, and all of that, emotional binding, all of that is what we're missing. We, as educational institutions and applications providers, need to look further to figure out ways to bring them closer through technology. There's no other way out. And digital education is becoming less and less expensive because for the students, I'm not talking about necessarily the educational institutions, because there's a lot of investment in trying to figure out.
You have 1 more minute, ma'am.
And so to me, I think it's just a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to disperse the material across the world to multiple students at the same time and bring this together and go after digital technology. This is going to stay, and we have to adapt ourselves. With that, thank you very much for the opportunity to give my opinion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sudha Devji, for addressing the conference. You started by saying on how the COVID has enabled us to use technologies more easily and how the tools seem more easier than ever before, right? And your example on how collaborative learning will help the students in learning together and, giving projects together where they can work on, they can grade it accordingly in groups is a very important point, ma'am, which we'll be taking back. And also, very importantly, you also highlighted, you spoke about it's not just the application, but imparting the knowledge of application to the knowledge givers. Those are the educators, the teachers. I think that was very important. Also, you touched point upon social and emotional learning and betterment of students. I think in a very short time, you covered a lot of points, which is difficult for me to, as a moderator, to sum up. But I think a lot of people can hear your speech, which will be available on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you very much, ma'am, for addressing the conference.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I just want to go back to Mr. Sushil Chaudhary ji. I think he's on the line and he's available. Sushil ji, you can unmute and you can start your talk, sir. Sushil ji, you need to unmute, sir. It is on mute right now.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I hope everyone is able to hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So I think thank you very much for organizing this webinar. It's going to help many in understanding the current challenges about the not only education system or way to impart education, but also how we can look at various opportunities and challenges. As far as I go, I see this as positive change. I mean, technology adoption is going to change the way our whole education system is working so far. For me, the point which I would like to highlight is inclusive opportunity for teachers, trainers, professors to come and reach to wider student base, which before the technology was not so easily available or accessible. With technology, I see one good knowledge source can reach out to multiple receivers. So I am looking at few platforms based on technology where they will be able to aggregate talent not only from India but global. So a lot of people who argue that post-COVID world is not going to be so flat, I agree with them. But at the same time, world will be even more flatter when you talk about technology being used with efficiency. Like today, because of enabling technology or right use of technology or platforms, we can access any source at any part of the world seamlessly. And when we are using our knowledge base, it is even more easier. So I feel a lot of multi-country, multi-point platforms would join hands, and this would ensure that we are signing terms and conditions or agreements without regulatory boundaries. So in post-COVID, a regulatory framework, which was sort of a restriction in sharing very many things in the field of education, is no more going to be the similar scenario. So I feel if we look at planning a technology roadmap efficiently, this would enable current new university owners and educational institutes to make themselves even more efficient. When you talk about students, I think even better scenario is going to come Now they can focus more on getting the best. And it is possible again because now for them situation is going to be far more efficient. It will be far more cheaper. It will be far more effective. It will be far more better. So I feel every institute needs to look at technology adoption in a very systematic way. Mobile app, and I would say I heard a student body creating a holographic solution so they can have a real 360-degree education or classroom setup when you are actually attending any classroom session. So there are a lot of people who are coming up with innovation where experience is going to be very similar to real classrooms. So I feel I would give 3 points here. Point number 1, if we broaden our horizon, which was a limitation earlier, using technology, that is point number 1. Second, I would say we need to invest more in technology. Today, I see a lot of people are using it, but they are not able to plan and invest the right of planning or resources to build the futuristic platform. We are using online platform which are currently available. I'm not seeing a lot of people coming up with investment in technology where that becomes an IP. So I feel India, especially our country, we need to invest a lot of resources in creating educational platform-based IP. That's point number 2. And point number 3, we need to somehow build a platform where regulatory framework can be broken. So if we are able to protect the individual's IP, individual's copyright, but at the same time, it can be shared with many or as many, I think this is going to be a game changer. So these are my input for now, and I would like to hear more from others, and then if required, can come back and join. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you bring a very, very different perspective to the conference, and you started by saying that we need to learn and utilize the talent from any source across the world, right? It should be beyond education, beyond boundaries. It should be country and multicultural platform. So I think you will be very happy, Sushil ji, to learn that I think Dr. Rupa Vasudevan mentioned at the start of the conference that World Forum for Education.org, right? It's a conclave, it's a platform where educators, where knowledge givers, where talent from across the world has been given a platform which will be where they can showcase their talent and get recognized in the global education community, where they can share learning and also learn from the experts. Also, sir, I think you spoke about, I think you come from the cinema industry. I think you spoke a lot about the IP, right? Individual IP. I think you're worst hit by that. I think you recognize the importance of that in education space, where teachers should not lose out the importance of their content and their IP to anyone else. I think that's a very important point, sir. I think we need to definitely look into this, and this will be published. I think all our conferences are published. We have more than 200 different newspapers across the world which publish our content. I think this will be points and excerpts from all the speakers will be included in that. Thank you, Sushil ji, for addressing the conclave.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I would like to invite Mr. Manish Kumar ji to address the conference. Mr. Manish Kumar ji is a founder of Back to Village, Reinstate the Lost Glory of Villages from Odisha. He is also co-founder of Farms and Farmers. It provides end-to-end services such as crop selection to marketing of agri-produce for farmers. He is also co-founder and director of DHAT in Patna. He was a national vice president of National Yuva Cooperative Society. He is also chief executive officer of Utopiaville, Bhubaneswar area. I request Mr. Manish Kumar ji to now address the conference.
Hi, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Best Innovation University and Rupa ma'am for inviting me. So basically, I am native of Vaishali district of Bihar, and after graduating from IIT Kharagpur in 2010, it has been 10 years since I am working in agriculture sector. Unlike most of the, I think all of the speakers here, so they talked about the technology and all. So I have requested ma'am that I won't be able to talk on the technology implementation in education sector. Rather, I'll talk on the sector, agriculture sector itself. What are the opportunities there in rural sector, and how the students or the people who are graduating this year or in near future, they can see a future in rural India. So just to start with, can any one of you have any idea of how many people have educational qualification of graduation or above? In India, what is the percentage of people who have done graduation or above education? So any can, you can type in chat.
It's yearly about 8 million who pass out the higher education. It's the largest in the world, even ahead of China.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So passed out, yeah, 8 million in annual it can be. So total number of people who have the degree of graduation or above, that is just 7 crores. And that's, I'm talking about census of 2011. So it's 5.64% of the entire population. And I'm talking about any graduate. That means he or she may be graduated from a rural university without any privileged education. And when we talk about illiterate, so in India, there's 37% people are illiterate. Means approximately 45 crore people are illiterate. So I'm just telling these figures to make our students understand the kind of responsibility the country has put on their shoulders. So when you have this much of education from the such premier institutes or good institutes, you have the responsibility to take those people forward. So just I'll brief about what I am working and how you people can see your future in this sector, in rural sector. So just yeah. So is it okay, the presentation?
Sushilji, you need to select the present now option and then
yeah. Okay, share, yeah. So just a minute, yeah.
Yes, Manishji, we can see the presentation, your screen now.
Okay. So is it full screen now?
Yes, very much.
Okay. So just the organization name is Back to Village, and as the introduction has been given, so there is another organization called Utopia Will Private Limited, and these two organizations are have been made for the same purpose. So basically, Back to Village is the social organization which provides all the services to farmers, and the Utopia Will is the commercial entity which sells the produce of the farmers of Back to Village. So just what the vision we have, we are just working on the vision to reinstate the lost glory of the village. Whenever we talk about village, whenever we see it in some movie, so it's a kind of utopia world, a very ideal world. So that is what we are chasing behind, that how we can make that village again the ideal one where all the people are working with cooperation, and people don't need to be dependent on other areas. So they are self-dependent. So with 3 small missions, our main mission is to bring the youngsters back to this farming sector. So somehow in past few decades, this agriculture has been showcased as the very poor profession or very bad profession. So that's why we are forming a team of young people who live in villages and who completely depend on the farming. Another thing is, with farming, we are also working on what are the other sectors, rural sectors, where we can provide employment to these people so that their risk of farming can be hedged. So this is the basic model we are working on. So there is a head office. Head office means a state office. Below that, we have this, you can see this nodal center. That means a small office of back to village. So nodal center is our own office. And then there is Unnat Krishi Kendra. You can see the encircled, red encircle. This Unnat Krishi Kendra, this is the center which is being run by the local entrepreneur. So micro entrepreneur, and this Unnat Krishi Kendra is basically franchisee based model. So head office and nodal center, these two are our own office, while Unnat Krishi Kendra is franchisee based model, which is situated in the village itself. And then there are farmers. So farmers are connected directly with Unnat Krishi Kendra. Whatever they need, whether they need seeds or any kind of training, or they need any kind of information, or the farmers have to sell their produce. So the Unnat Krishi Kendra is basically one-stop solution for all the farming needs of farmers. So these are in connection with the farmers. Whatever problems these Unnat Krishi Kendra are collecting, so they are just escalating it to the nodal center. So these nodal centers, there are basically 3 or 4 employees, 2 field officers and 1 nodal officer. So they just accumulate the information, gather the information from the Unnat Krishi Kendras, and they compile it, they analyze the problem, and then they escalate it to head office. So this is the best typical structure we work. And you can see there are so many other things, like if we talk about marketing. So when farmers have to sell their produce, Unnat Krishi Kendra just sends the information that our farmer sells this much of produce. Nodal center arranges for the transportation or the logistics, and they send the truck or the vehicle directly to the farmer's door. So that's why we have shown this arrow. So the produce is directly supplied from farmers to the market. So this is how we are working. What is Unnat Krishi Kendra? We are just showing. So a typical Unnat Krishi Kendra has 2 parts, 2 separate parts. One is office, and other is demonstration farm. So anyone who is willing to open a center, Unnat Krishi Kendra, he or she must have at least a space for office. It may be in their own house. It may be a rented house in the village itself, which can you get on 300, 400, 500 rupees monthly. And at least 2 acres of land, which should be accessible to farmers easily. Means because we use this land as training center also. So this is typical Unnat Krishi Kendra model, where you can see there are integrated farm, where you can see horticulture, grains, there is small pond, then there is Goshala, cow shed, and you can see this residential training center. So this is in ideal case, the same training center is also function as office. So this is basically a 5-acre model, this picture shows. But we try to get at least 2 to 3 acres of land to set up a center. So what are the activities basically? Why this office and this farm? What does they do? So office, you can see their main objective is to connect with approximately 500 to 600 farmers. So in last 10 years, we have realized that a person who is living in rural areas, an educated person, he has capacity to reach out to approximately 500 to 1,000 farmers. So we have stuck to this number to 500.
Manji, you have 1 more minute to go.
Sorry?
You have 1 more minute to go, sir.
Okay. So these are the office and this is the farm. You can see there are so many activities we do. And the farm is being treated as a demonstration farm, and the produce of this farm, they sell, the farmers, they sell also. This is a typical our model. We identify the agripreneur, the person who can run the center. Then we train them. Then we set up their center and farm. And after that, the center is set up. They sell the input to the farmers and support to farmers. And lastly, we collect the produce from the farmers. So these are the activities we do. You can see how low-cost technology can be adopted. This is a mobile application we use for survey. These are the produces we have collected from farmers and selling in markets. These are we procure these vegetables directly from farmers and sell in cities. And just just 1 minute, sorry, I'm exiting. So these are the opportunities in agriculture sector for any youngster who can who wish to be in rural sector. So if you can do the core farming, you can take land on lease, you can do the farming. You can sell the inputs. There's huge opportunity. You can be act as a trainer. You can buy some farm machinery and put it on hiring basis. You can set up a storage warehouse. You can set up a processing packaging center, and you can procure from farmers and sell it to buyers. So this is the typical model. You can select one or many from this topic. So this is all. Thank you. Sorry for exceeding the time.
No problem, Manishji. Thank you so much, sir. I think it was a very beautiful presentation. I think you started by asking about statistics of higher education in India, and then you went on to address how important is the role of a student in development of this our country, and then your initiative, which is Back to Villages, a very beautiful model, as we could see, which helps our annadatas, our farmers, in leveraging and getting the best out of their produce. And I think that is the need of the hour. And I think many of the students of BEST IU who are here, who are present, who are part of the BEST BSc Agriculture program and other agri-allied courses would have taken great cue from you. A wonderful model, sir. I wish you all the best and looking forward to learning from you. Thank you so much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I would like to invite our next speaker, that is Dr. Dinesh Kumar from University of California, Davis, USA. Dr. Dinesh Kumar is a professor and chair, Department of Plant Biology, College of Biological Sciences, Genome Center. He has published research articles in international referred journals. His area of focused area is cell and developmental biology, molecular biology, biochemistry and genomics, and environmental and integrative biology. We request Dr. Dinesh Kumar ji to address the conference now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Thank you.
Sorry. It says can't share your screen. Do you know how to grant the permission to screen share?
You need to click on the present now option, which is there on the bottom right hand side corner.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And then it says...
then you need to actually select the screen you want to share and then click on share now. Unless you do that, it won't be visible.
I cannot find that command here, I think, yeah. Sorry. I'm on the full screen, but it's not recognizing my screen actually. So. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the screen here, but it's not recognizing my computer screen. Do you know how you normally do it? I never use.
Oh, okay. So actually, what you do is on the bottom right-hand side, you have an option present now.
Yeah.
Once you click on present now, you click on your entire screen, a window or a Chrome tab. You may as well select a window.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you will have a share an application window over there. So you need to select from the small ones which application you want to share and then click on share.
No, it only tells me you can't share your screen. That's all.
Very, very sorry, sir. I'm not sure as to why. We have given all the speakers access to share the screen.
You can maybe start and then we'll see if it's happening again.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, I don't. When I click on it, it will just say you can't share screen. So.
So, Dr. Dinesh Kumar, sir, you may start, and then what we can do is in the meanwhile, in the back end, we'll try to see if something can be done about it.
Yeah, you can go ahead with the next speaker. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sir, I think we'll come back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Mr. John Way Molzino, the chairman of iHair and founder Agroland and Moncrete International Indonesia. He is the president of Ohio State University Alumni Association of Indonesia, is founder and managing director of Agung Persada Propendo Indonesia. He is also founder and managing director of Moncrete International. He is skilled in negotiation, entrepreneurship, business development, globalization, international trade and change management. I request Mr. John Way Ji to address the conference.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, Best IU and Dr. Rupa. I will be putting my hat as entrepreneur and business people when I talk about this. So I'll share a lot of the examples from the industry perspective. Just very quickly, I was studied in Ohio State University chemical engineering, and I was a corporate man before, working for the Dow Chemical in Jakarta and then Hong Kong to oversee Asia Pacific for a little bit, and then later on I turned entrepreneur. So I would, would talk about that with the perspective of entrepreneur and business people. Now, as you all know, technomics being a confluence of technology and economic is here now. Okay, it's basically with the pandemic, it's accelerated even further, and this is entering the stage whereby technomics has dictates and reshapes the entire industry. So I will share upon a few examples that I have come across in my businesses. For examples, in real estate. Sometime last year, my team and I, we were talking to the potential landowner to build a mixed-use concept in the CBD of West Jakarta. So the concept is being unique in Indonesia. We were planning to build a concept whereby we combine co-working space, co-living, and commercials. Because we know the trend of sharing economy is coming. It's globally and it's also happening in Jakarta. So the concept was beautiful and everyone is pretty much into it, and we know the trend is there. Then boom, COVID happening, right? So at the same time, this is unfortunate. We have to put this project on hold. But in hindsight, though, we think this is also a blessing in disguise. You know why? Because of this COVID, plus the notions of working from home. Since COVID time, over the past few months, we have observed this trend is most likely for here to stay. We see a lot of productivity gain, a lot of quality time with the family and things like that. So that in effect makes us think twice on the previous concept that we have already put in place. So if we were to go back to this project again, post-COVID, I foresee there will be changes in the way we approach the project. Because if you look at space-wise perspective, it will change. Perhaps we may move a bit more into like data center. Plus, I would call it work, co-work, live, play. Co-work, live, play in a way, meaning the co-living and co-working space still on. That's not only because of the trend, but if you look at WeWork, which also changed the world. Of course, the fiasco of WeWork last year may have a different turn of event, but the needs of co-work, live, play is still around. So people still need that kind of sharing economy, if you will, but we add an element of play. Play meaning that you have to kick into things like entertainment, F&B, and you pack it in a different setting in the community. So we were thinking we might change the concept into database, co-work, live, play. Plus, there are a lot of number of enabling technology elements that we may not thought of before. For example, face recognition technology, AI, big data, something like blockchain and stuff like that. So that's first examples that we face in real life, in real estate, that will change. And I'm sure a lot of real estate players will also experience that, because when it comes to space, particularly all these office spaces, I think they might want to find a different way on how they're going to market their spaces, because we foresee working from home will be here for quite some time, or even if this will change, perhaps working from home plus combination of working from office is still going to be around for quite some time. That's one perspective from the real estate. I have a different perspective, which I also involve in building material businesses, which I'm in. I have seen a lot of needs and shifting of all those brick and mortar businesses, whereby they need an urge to shift into online. And a lot of them may not even know how to get started. Now, but they know if they don't shift online somewhere in the future, they will be obsolete. So I, for one, I have the same experience. I have a building material businesses whereby it's very traditional, conventional. Now, sometime also last year, I began to get involved in some of the tech startup whereby we try to create mobile applications to help all the merchants being all those merchants where they are selling building material to the end users. Those are very low-tech moms and pops runs type of shop. Then there are many of them. There are a few 100,000 of those in the country. So we would try to change their mindset and convince them to use technology. And mind you, those are all very low-tech and very moms and pops. Not easy. So we try to create a mobile apps, asking them to sell their product through our mobile apps. At the same time, as soon as they enjoy using our mobile apps, later on we'll connect them to purchase directly from all the manufacturers and suppliers of building material. Now, guess what? It took us quite a long time to convince them. Now, during the COVID, the good news is, though, we have seen tremendous amount of people who early on was kind of reluctant to join. They start to sign up into our applications now. So they begin to see the usefulness of this in helping them to sell their product and reach to many, many users. The users can be any individual that they need to buy products to renovate their house or to build their house, or meet small size contractor. And we begin to see a lot of traction coming out from that. So the good news is this COVID, if anything, it speed up the process of convincing them to move into technology. So that part, to me, we have experienced that as entrepreneurs. Now I can continue on talk about examples of many disruptions happening in the business perspective. However, with the interest of time, I would not talk about that further. But the key is though, how are we going to relate all this to the topic that we have, the technology adoption into education? My view that I see a potential shift of the typical 4-year education degree to a rather short EdTech program whereby it's a diploma or like, and you offer the courses or program in a very practical, personalized, engaging, flexible, at the same time, cost-effective with massive reach to the industries or to the people. Okay. Now the manifestations of that will be in form of programs like vocational, entrepreneurship, reskill, or rather soft skill, if you will. Those are the manifestations of the, I would say, the typical 4-year education into a shorter program, into vocational, entrepreneurship, and reskill. And all of those are really ready to be used type of program. So to me, that innovation, that education adoption to me is meaningful, and it will be scalable, definitely personalized, practical, efficient, and cost-effective. So that will be my personal take from an industrial perspective and entrepreneur's perspective in the way on how the education adoption with technology moving forward. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Wei, for addressing the conference. So I think very important points which you have brought to our notice. I think a new term, I think we have heard about this term before, but I think you explained it very well, that technomics, right? The convergence of technology and economics together. I think, your experience, or rather example, was very beautiful of leveraging technology for bringing together the brick and mortar establishments to co-work, live and play. I think that's a very beautiful concept, sir. I think the world is listening and they would take a cue from there. And also how it is interesting to see how people have started accepting the migration of technology, which was very difficult earlier. Now it has become a need of the hour rather than anything else. And I think for entrepreneurs, it is a great time for innovation. So, and also from the education front, I think the important points you highlighted, the need of vocational training, need of short-term courses, where people are trained on entrepreneurship, people are trained on skills, and then revisiting the knowledge. I think those are very good and personalized, professional, and effective education. I think that's a takeaway from your talk, sir. Apart from that, people can also hear the full talk on YouTube and Facebook. It is available. Thank you very much for addressing the conference, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to go back to Dr. Dinesh Kumarji from UC Davis, California. Dr. Dinesh Kumarji.
Yeah, let me try again. Yeah, some reason the command line doesn't come for me to share my screen. So,
what browser are you using, sir?
I'm actually using Firefox, yeah.
Okay.
Because it says you must grant permissions in order to screen share. So
we have given you all the admin rights. Maybe it's because of Firefox. You could try shifting to Google Chrome or.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, go ahead with the next speaker. I'll switch over and see.
Professor Dinesh Kumarji, you're the last speaker for the day, sir, because
I am the last speaker. Okay.
Who has technical difficulties in joining, so you are the last speaker.
Okay, I can just talk about. I wish I could show some slides, but anyway. So thanks for inviting me for participating in this webinar. especially Vice Chancellor Maheshwar, actually. So I've been, although I've never given talks related to teaching, even though I've been teaching about last 20 years, actually. In the last 10 years, I've been teaching a large undergraduate class at UC Davis, which is about 200 to 250 students, actually. So it was interesting to hear from many of the speakers here how instructors also need to learn about the technology. So an example here is that I couldn't get on to the slide, actually. So although I've never used the Google Meet, most of the time operated through Zoom, actually. So so what I wanted to say, if I was showing slides, is that so because of the COVID-19 at UC Davis, there was a transition to online teaching. So I don't know how many of you know the UC Davis operates on a 10-week quarter system, actually. So it's a very fast-paced delivery of lectures to the students. The entire material is delivered in 10 weeks, and there are about 2 to 3 exams and quizzes goes on in person when there's class in person, actually. So in the middle of the March, for April 1st start of the quarter, the campus decided that we will go online remotely for all the courses, actually. So it was a major change for instructors, especially like me, who never used online delivery because mostly used to delivering in-person delivery, actually. So there was a lot of different learning curves and a lot of discussion among faculty members here. So the one thing I decided to opt to go with was what is called as lecture capture, which is provided by the IT service on campus, actually. So what it is that it is a very less work for the faculty member. Basically, you go to the classroom where you are supposed to teach, and the classroom is equipped with the cameras and the audio recording, actually. So you basically deliver the class in your class time, assigned class time, and with an empty room, actually. So what I basically did was to ask my teaching assistants. So we generally have 2 or 3 teaching assistants to sit in an empty classroom when I'm delivering the lecture and ask some questions and interfere and make it more like a live mode, actually. So the advantage of this is that it basically records everything, whatever you are presenting from your PowerPoint slides onto the screen, if you're writing something on the board or dock camera, and it also records your motions, you are walking around in the room, and also the audio, actually. So the one of the advantages that immediately after an hour, the lecture material is delivered to the students, actually. So we made it very clear to the students that what is expected in this course, because it was first time online. And also the students are already taking about 15 to 20 credit hours, which is about 4 to 6 classes, actually. So they only have assigned times to go after your lecture, actually. I know many of you pointed out to keeping the interest from the students is the most important point when we are teaching here, actually. So my suggestion to students was that they lock in the time they were supposed to attend the lecture, actually. So I deliver the lectures, let's say Monday, and then the next lecture, my lecture is on Thursday. So they use that Thursday lecture hour to watch my Monday's lecture hour, actually. So that way they don't need to spend extra time to go through the lecture material. So this is another important point, because when students are taking so many credit hours, on top of that, everything is online, the stress level is very high, actually. So we need to make sure that the students are getting clear instruction about what is expected when the courses go online, actually. So in this sense, I think the lecture capture worked out well for me, because I didn't need it to learn quite a bit of technology. And it also worked out well for the students because the material was delivered to them immediately an hour later, actually. But I also ended up, so we at UC Davis, we use what is called as a Canvas learning platform, actually. So which basically houses the classes you have taught in the past and also the current classes actually. So I know some of you have discussed this already about involving students, discussions and all that stuff. So this platform, what it allows is that you can upload all your lectures, all the videos, and also you can upload everything, plus there are announcements you can make. It reaches all the students in the class, and you can take individual students and email them from this system actually. And also there is a discussion session where you can invoke questions and then ask voluntarily the students to participate. So if you ask them to participate by name, generally they back out actually. So if you make it volunteer, but there is no name attached to it. So what the route I took was immediately after the lecture, I put a question there. What was clear in this lecture today? What was not clear in this lecture today? So that I can go back and answer through this Canvas platform what was not clear and engage students in the discussion actually. And also we had, so I think one important point to make here is that when you deliver an online course, face-to-face contact is not there actually. So hence we had multiple office hours for the students actually. Myself had about 4 hours of office hour on different days, and the TAs had about 4 hours of office hours on different days. So that provides the platform for students to come in person through Zoom, where we have a breakout session and then discuss about the issues and if they didn't understood some topics and things like that. That has also helped a lot actually. And then all the quizzes and exams were administered also through the Canvas platform. This is again another important point, because administering exams for an instructor is very easy, but it is also, it's a very attention for a student how the exams are administered actually. So in this sense, I think this platform has worked well for our system here actually. In addition to using lecture capture, I also used a program called Camtasia. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this, but it is a very user-friendly program, easy to use for video editing and screencasting actually. So we made about 7 to 10 minutes of lecture material, discussion material to deliver to the students so that they can watch, and then during office hours, we can come back and discuss. So the advantage of the system is in between, you can actually insert questions in your video so that students know they need to get back to you on that actually. And one of the advantages that I know someone mentioned during the earlier talks, you can easily upload this into YouTube actually. So if you're not worried about IP, it's on YouTube, so everybody knows how to use YouTube and it can go there actually. The other program I used was also called Explain Everything app actually. So this is very good because you can actually use it like a whiteboard to communicate with students. But you do need iPad and a Surface tablet with the stylus to use the program actually. And I already mentioned that we use extensively Zoom for in-person office hours and discussion session actually. But I think with all this, one thing the instructors, educators have to be mindful of is testing actually. Because what we noticed at UC Davis is that there is a major cheating. Okay, there is a major cheating online actually. So you have to think about clever way of administering exams so that you evaluate, you don't jeopardize the good students by people who cheat actually. But of course, one could also use external service if you can spend some money like ProctorU and things like that actually. Although I'm running out of time, I want to make few points. I know a lot of you made this point, but it is very important, even in the US institution, is that availability of computers is not trivial to the students actually. So any material we develop to deliver should be able to be accessible through phones, because most students have phones, but not computers actually. But also anything we want to deliver, we should also think about equity issues actually. I know the first speaker pointed out the bandwidth availability of internet actually. believe it or not, one full day in the day which the internet was out, and that day was the exam day actually. So I needed to cancel and give it again and all that stuff. So we have instructor need to be flexible and also make it clear to the students that we will be flexible actually. And also we need to be mindful of some students may not have quiet space to work and also to take exams. And finally, the one more point I want to make is that we also need to be mindful of students with disability actually, because they need extra time to access the material through these technologies and things like that. Thank you very much. Sorry, my slides didn't work. Hopefully my message came across with my experience in the last 3 months teaching online at UC Davis.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dinesh Kumarji. So the presentation didn't work, but however, you explained very clearly. If I have to summarize it, you started with creation of content, then delivery of content, then authoring of content, then assessing the students. Right? I think the waterfall was very beautifully explained. So you were very humble in accepting the perils of technology that you couldn't share a presentation. But nevertheless, the tools which you highlighted, something such as lesson capture, a solution which is helpful in retaining the educational recording and retaining educational resources, which can then be used. I think you spoke about Canvas, the learning management system, which is used to deliver that content to students, where they can study at their own pace. And so an important point, I think our Chancellor Dr. Rupa Vasudevan ji was addressing a lot of educators across the world today morning in another meeting, where she spoke about this content authoring platform. So I think Camtasia, what you spoke about, is an important tool. Likewise, we have many such platforms which are used for content authoring, where teachers can author the content and then they can share it on YouTube and other platforms. And your use of whiteboard and also the assessment solution is something which all the educators can take a cue from. Really an inspiration to all the educators, sir. Thank you very much for addressing the conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I would like to invite Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, the Special Chief Secretary of Andhra Government and Senior Advisor to Best Innovation University, to present the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Really, we are all very happy in Best Innovation University that very eminent speakers today joined this webinar and given their views on a very, very important topic, that is technology adoption in education and industry perspective. In fact, the Best Innovation University is conducting this series of webinars on this topic just to understand what is happening worldwide in this field of education after the COVID-19 crisis, and what is the future of it? What will happen in future? How do we cope up with the future situation? So we are hearing all the eminent speakers, their views, and it's really very wonderful experience sharing, and a lot of things are coming. So this will definitely help the university in all the educationists to narrow down the approach for future, and then we can kind of have uniform approach, keeping the student interest in mind. That is the one thing emerging from the discussions we had in last 7 webinars and today's 8th webinar. Everybody is talking about the interest of a student. How do we redesign the contents? How do we deliver the redesigned content? How do we capture the attention of the students? And there are issues of equity. Just now, Dr. Dinesh has also told, Dinesh Kumarji, even in US, this is the issue. We used to think it's a problem in developing countries, but even in United States also, if equity is the issue, means definitely we need to have different approaches. That Sudha Devji was telling about the digital education is going to be the issue for the future, and we need to more structure and the classes, structure the contents and reach out to the people. Like that, there are many, views have come. Dr. Asif Iqbal has said how we can reach more students in practical ways, and issue of bandwidth and immediacy of the contents. He has very nicely presented graphically different scenario and what we can do in different 4 scenarios, and what are different steps Government of India is taking in technology upgradation, technology innovation, and how their institution, India Economic Trade Organization, is helping Government of India. That's a really a great initiative by them, and definitely much more needs to be done in this. Like that, Mr. Sushil Chaudhary also made 3 very, very important points that we need to broaden the horizon. We need to invest in technology for futuristic futuristic platform has to come, and also a regulatory mechanism so that the boundaries are broken. These are the need of our, like that we need to work like that. And Mr. John V has suggested a very important change where the course itself can be shortened, 4-year degree course, that can be shortened to a smaller diploma kind of program, which is more practical, which is more industry friendly, which is more promoting entrepreneurship, and that can be delivered in very cost effective manner. These are 4 or 5 points. He has given very good suggestions. And finally, I would come to Mr. Manish Mishra. He has talked about a very important sector, that is agriculture, technology in agriculture. And 70% of India's population depending upon agriculture income for their livelihood. This is one of the most important sector, and how this Unnat Krishi Kendras in the villages, they are helping the farmer in getting quality inputs for agriculture and various technologies through mobile applications, and also how they are taking their product for the marketing, which is a very, very crucial thing, because people are suffering due to vagaries of monsoon and glut in production sometime and scarcity of production. Both way farmer is getting really affected. And even in COVID times, it is the farmer who is not getting the focus. People are talking so many things, but the farmer is suffering. How is cultivating, how is harvesting, what are the labor problem? These are the really very, very testing time for the farmers, and we need to really look into their real issues. And what somebody was yesterday telling me, the food is very important. Today people are standing in queue not for IBM, BMW or say computer or anything. They are standing in queue for food. And that is what we are not giving much focus. So I'm really very thankful to Mr. Manish Mishra, IIT Kanpur, Kharagpur graduate, focusing on village economy, agriculture sector economy through his Back to Village initiative. Really great of you, Mr. Manish. So this kind of meeting of minds is really very important. And Best Innovation University located in Anantapur, which is also a backward district in Andhra Pradesh, is conducting this series of webinars. And we would like to thank all the eminent speakers who have joined today in this webinar and given their valuable suggestions. I thank the chairman of Best Innovation University, Mr. Bharat Meena ji, and Chancellor Dr. Rupa Vasudevan ji, and from World Forum for Education and World Women Leading Change, Dr. Ayla also probably is in is participating here. We all thank her for her constant support to all of us. So once again, I thank all the honorable speakers, all the participants, students and faculty members for joining this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. We look forward to see you again in the webinar on 27th of June, 2020. Same time, same place. Namaskar.